I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. You know this is a problem. Moms and dads across the country, we've all experienced this. You walk into the pediatrician thinking that you're just there to have a checkup to make sure that your child's health is on track with where it should be. And you walk out feeling like a piece of garbage. You walk out feeling like something that you're doing is going to harm your child. And the reason you feel like that, or the reason that I felt like that, is not because any of my actions are actually going to harm my child. Of course they're not. It's because the pediatrician has been disrespectful to me, has been patronizing to me, condescending to me, or downright bullying me based on choices that I make that are different than what the pediatrician wants. And the worst part of this to me is the fact that, especially as mothers, I'm sure this is true for fathers too, but I can only speak from my own experience in this particular case. Mothers have a tremendously strong intuition when it comes to the care of our children. We actually know instinctually how to care for our children. There's things that we can learn. There's things we can be taught. There are things we might not know intuitively, but intuitively, we know what's best for our children. We know how to take care of our children. We could survive just taking care of our children, even if no one else told us what to do or how to do it. This is how we were created as women. This is how God intended us. And this intuition that we have as mothers, this is one of the things that I have found to be bulldozed at the pediatrician's office. There's no acknowledgement of mother's intuition. There's no value on a mother's intuition. They ignore a mother's intuition completely. They'll even contradict your mother's intuition. If you don't have an evidence-based study on hand to justify your feeling or your decision, then that's completely disregarded. And in fact, it's worse than that, because what not only is mother's intuition ignored, but there's emotional manipulation that happens from pediatricians. And I want to just interrupt myself for 1 second and say, I know that every pediatrician in the country is not like this. I am speaking in generalizations because this is the pediatric industry that I'm talking about. I know there are pediatricians who are wonderful. I know a lot of these pediatricians who are behaving the way that I'm describing are not actually bad people themselves. This is how they were trained. This is the model of medicine. They were trained in medical school. This is how they were told to practice. Some of them don't even like to practice like this, but they have to, like the guy that I mentioned a minute ago, who said, listen, I have to do this or else I'm going to be legally liable should anything happen. So, their hands are tied. So I don't want the impression of what I'm saying to be that I am castigating every pediatrician out there or the motives of every pediatrician. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is there's a problem with the model that so many moms and dads like me have experienced when they take their child to the pediatrician. And what I'm saying is the problem with this model can be fixed, can be addressed, and it should be addressed, because this is not, well, not to make a pun here, but this is not healthy for moms and dads or for kids to have this be the medical model. So the emotional manipulation that happens, or that I've experienced happen at the pediatrician, is that if we don't obey what the pediatrician tells us to do, without the pediatrician knowing any context about who I am as a mother, who, my husband is as a father, what our house is like, what our decision-making ability, our judgment, without knowing anything about the situation of our life, if we don't directly obey exactly what they say, then we're told that it's going to kill our child. We're told, if we don't do these things, then we're going to cause harm to our little babies. And this is terrifying. I mean, it's even me. I sit here as someone who challenges the status quo on a daily basis. I expose corruption. I'm totally comfortable thinking independently and behaving or speaking in a way that at least the loudest voices, if not the majority, vehemently disagree with. I'm very comfortable in that role. It's what I do for a living in politics. But even me being comfortable in that role, I've still felt that phantom fear when a pediatrician tells me that if I co-sleep, I'm going to roll on top of my baby and I'm going to suffocate the baby. Or when that neonatologist says, well, if you get in a car wreck and your daughter needs blood, like, you don't want her to be contaminated. Like, this is heavy stuff to tell new parents. This is terrifying. It's a parent's worst nightmare to feel that their baby might be at risk, let alone that they're the ones putting our children at risk. And so it's emotional manipulation. They're using, these pediatricians that do this, or this model of medicine uses fear as a way to coerce parents into complying, essentially. Fear ends up driving parents' decisions. Like, how can you live with yourself if you decline a vaccine and then your child dies from that? How can you live with yourself if you roll on top of your baby? How can you live with yourself, XYZ? It's emotional manipulation.